I teach now since 24 years, and this Topspin Pro, I'm going to start off with the ground strokes. When you have, especially when you have beginners or kids, what is the one of the most challenging things when you teach, right? Everything, when you drop the ball, it's easy, like here, right? You would just go and roll it, and then it gets into the running and into the setting the feet up so the ball can come high, different spins, different pace, different length of the shot. So the hardest thing for players is to run up to a ball, set the feet at the right place, and then hitting it. So too many times players run, they get too close to the ball, or players run up and they're reaching out, they're too far for the ball. So everything, when we teach, anything we do anyway, the first step is always static, right? So you can combine it and throw in like running, obviously, but like when you have beginners, you want to go always from slow to medium to fast, from short distance to medium distance to long distance, and the same thing from easy to medium to hard, right? So this is easy. And so when players master this, to get up and hit the ball and be able to do this. So I tell you, I have a lot of 5, 6, 7-year-olds that I teach. So the Topspin Pro, what I like about it, so if you go out there and hit it like this, that ball doesn't spin. Doesn't matter if it's forehand or backhand side, if you just go like this, the ball doesn't spin. So in order to spin, they will have to learn. You can adjust the height, obviously, and in order to spin, they have to brush up on that ball. And this Topspin Pro just makes it so much easier to get the first initial learning on what topspin is actually. So what is topspin? So topspin is if the ball rotates forward and you try to hit below the middle, below the equator, right here, and then you roll it up. So what is topspin? I just want to make sure everybody, so you get under that ball and you roll it up. So like a lot of players don't understand the concept. As more rounds per minute you give the ball, as better and the ball drops back into the court, like when Rafa hits the ball. Sometimes you think the ball is going to land 5 miles out, but as more rounds per minute, as more the ball is going to drop in. It's called the Magnus effect, right? So it's very important to learn that. And like when I see players, and that's one thing very important. When I see players, let's start with the backhand, right? So every good backhand, you have the split step. That's key, obviously, and a lot of you know that. I'll just repeat it quickly. And then the shoulder turn. So the shoulder turn, when you look at Federer, Djokovic, Nadal, they're never late. Why? Because it's split and they're already here. That shoulder turn is key. So the problem is when players run to the ball, right? So they just run to the ball and have the racket not ready. They drop it or have it here, and then they get to the ball, and everything has to be at last minute. So if you want to have a successful ground stroke, and again, I'm talking about now beginner, intermediate player, all you guys that can hit the ball properly, some of you do it as well still, but like it's more for beginner, intermediate player, little kids. So it's always the split and the turn, and then you have to hold the racket head above the wrist. And I always say to my players, you split turn, and in this position now, you search the ball. Wherever the ball is going to be, you're like this. This is so key, this is important, because if you're not ready here, and you drop the racket and you run, you do all at last minute. And I'm exaggerating, but you know, teaching 24 years, you see so many things on the court, and this is one of the biggest issues players have. So why I like this Topspin Pro is, when I teach, I always teach my kids, split or beginner players, turn, and you search the ball now in this position wherever the ball is. So let's say, I know I have a limited space, but I'm right here. I want to get there, so I split turn, and I set up wherever I need to be. And then I drop my racket head and brush up on that ball. So I want to go a little bit into the technical details. So remember when Nick Kyrgios, years and years ago, he changed that a little bit. he was always like stiff in the wrist. And he was like, you know, the backhand look, he was pushing the backhand back, and it's a great shot. And when you look a little bit at the evolution of his backhand, just a tiny bit, when you're stiff here in this moment, and you're not getting the racket tip down, you're gonna have like this push backhand. You know, Roddick used to do that. So that's not bad, I'm not bad at all. But if you look at the best backhands, when you look at Novak, chin is above the shoulder, right in the setup here. Nice shoulder turn, very important, because then you pre-stretch your back muscles. And then, now, in this phase here, he's loaded, right? So he's bent. So as soon as he snaps his hip in, the racket drops here. So it's important when the racket is in this position, the tip kind of points down. And if you look at it here, the tip is, they're coming from this position. They're not coming from this position. That's, I call like the push backhand. They're actually, and it's important that you understand, you have to load the legs. The kids, when they play out of the upper body, then they're playing out of the arm. So they go and push it and hit it. If the hip snaps in, your racket falls automatically down. And still some players are too stiff in the wrist, so they don't get the racket head down. Hip snaps in, you're here. And now from this position, you're gonna have good control and spin over the shot. And another problem is if you stiffen the wrist, try to get under the ball. It's not gonna work. You need to be like this to get under the ball. You can bend as much as you want. If your racket head's still above the wrist, you cannot do anything. So you need to make sure you get under the ball and you go up. So, teaching 24 years, when you teach that to players, they start to go robotic, right? That's a normal thing. It's called interference. You learn something new, and then the new and the old information, they bang heads against each other, and it takes time. So you need to understand it takes time to change things. So at the beginning, it might look robotic. So make sure when you start, make sure that you control this when you bring the racket under the ball. It's not like just dropping the racket. You're going to lose everything. So you need to control this part here. And this part, when you have the racket head, why it's important above the wrist, because you create racket head speed here, right? And you can hit that ball. If you're like this, you're not going to be able to get a lot out of the ball. You lose on spin and you lose on pace. So now, since I'm in it, I like it. As again, when you look at the Topspin Pro, if you find this interesting, you know, check it out. Look in our link. You know, as I said, when I work with companies together, I personally believe they improve people's game. So that's why I do that. And I truly believe that thing is going to help beginner, kids, and intermediate player. So now, where did I stop? I stopped here. So, important on the backhand, if you drop too early here. So this, I can't show that perfectly with this because I could hold it up, but you have to imagine this one. So, why do I tell my kids split turn, search the ball with the racket head up? Because the backswing, when you turn here, so let's say after the bounce you adjust the feet and this is the perfect contact point. Your racket head is a little bit above the ball, right? Because you need to drop it and you need to hit it. If you can't adjust the feet properly and the ball is going to go high, you have the racket higher up and you hit up on that ball. If the ball is low, you need to be lower. The racket head is still up and then you hit it. So where is the biggest problem when you know, maybe you're doing this as a player, or we as coaches see that, when there's so many coaches still that teach, or like, you know, racket straight down. But what is the problem now? If the ball is up here after the bounce, because we cannot adjust the feet perfectly always, then you're going to go from here, up here, and the ball going to sail out. Happens a lot. If the ball is low, you will be fine. If the ball is medium, you might be fine. If the ball is high now, the ball is going to sail out. So you have to adjust the take back with that oncoming ball that's coming to you so you can properly hit that ball. And it's not just having the racket low here. You know, if players if the ball is low and players have the racket too high and the ball is very low and it comes, they're going to go into the net. That happens so many times. So you have to adjust the take back, like on that ball that's coming. You have to learn to see how well you can adjust the feet and where the ball is going to be in contact. So it always takes conscious effort for you to improve those things. So when you get out there as a player, you're 2-5, 3-0, you're beginner intermediate, you cannot just hit the ball. Analyze how much spin does the ball have, where is it going, how do I hit it, has it underspin? And one more thing, on the backhand, if you're stiff in the wrist, like I said earlier, like Nick used to push it, if someone has a really good slice that goes really low, you cannot get under the ball, you're going to frame those balls. So there are many things, I could talk about on the backhand side, what players do, what kits do, and what you can do better. So I hope that helps a little bit on the backhand side. And the same, guys, the same with the forehand. It's the same principle. We're not and as I said, this thing is a Topspin Pro. You click, you see there in the bio, just check it out. Go and look. Look, this is amazing. So on the forehand, it's the same thing. You split and you turn. And I'm going to go into the technical details in a second. I just want to show you. Look, if you go up here, that thing spins so nicely. Give this thing to kids and beginner player. And they go, and they almost break that thing. Why? Because they don't have any idea what topspin is. And I don't say this is the best thing in the world. I love it. There are many other great tools out there. As I said, I'm open always. There are many other great tools out there that are similar. I just fell in love with it. I like the design. I like how you put it up, how easy it goes. And that's why, I work with that. All right, let me see. All right, I love it, guys. So you still with me? Okay, so forehand. Just today I feel like doing all that. It's raining here. It's icy. So, all right, guys, so forehand. As I said, split, turn. So now look, that left hand when you hit is crucial. The non-dominant arm works when you hit forehands. I see too many times when I tell the players to turn, they tell me, oh yeah, I turn. But they actually just put the racket back, but they don't turn in the upper body. And they swing and hit and they lose control. Turn only happens if you rotate the upper body against the lower body. And this is a concept I like to throw in. It doesn't matter how old the kids are. If they're young, intermediate, like old, beginner, grown-ups, if you just have a racket and you let them hold the racket out, now just rotate to your right, you're going to feel a pre-stretch here, rotate to the left, you're going to feel a pre-stretch. Now actually you're rotating your upper body against the lower body. And if you put someone's rackets in the hands, it's the same thing like we just did. You rotate in the upper body. And what the key is, when you start as a coach teaching someone, the first lesson and you introduce something new is key. It's the most important. Like if you teach a student to rotate the upper body in the first lesson and you make them feel it, the first impression, they will never forget that. If you just let them hit like this, you're not going to get the outcome you want in the lessons and what would you want to teach them. It's so important that the first impression with the student and the group, I just thrive off a little bit, but, teaching kids, you have 10 kids, everything has to be structured, right? So everything from the setup to the pickup and the warm-up, if it has structure, they will do it every time. But if you're lazy and you don't do that, and this is the great thing about doing things and getting habits, if you do it from the start, it becomes a habit. And the first 5-6 times, you really have to be into it, and then they do it. But how many times I have kids coming to me, they don't have routines, they don't have a warm-up routine, they don't pick balls up, and it all starts where? At the beginning of the lessons. The first time you have players. So make them understand how much easier it is to hit a ball, to coil, and use that so you don't muscle the ball. All right, let's get back to the Topspin Pro, guys. So we split and we turn, and the left hand, I was with the left hand. When you adjust the racket, right? you cannot squeeze the right hand, otherwise you can't adjust it and then it doesn't feel right, right? So you have to open your hand slightly and you turn the racket in your hands and then you regrip, so nothing changes. So I have a strong Eastern, weak semi-Western, very strong Eastern grip, okay? So now if I change it to my backhand grip, I need to loosen up here, and then my left hand turns it in my hand and I just regrip. And then I have the perfect backhand grip for my one-hander. So you cannot squeeze this. You need to make sure that you open the hand up and then you change the grip. So once I'm in the grip change, I'm just going to keep going and going, guys. I don't have anything to do, so I hope I help someone. So with the two-handed backhand, right? So after you hit a forehand, what I tell my players is when they catch the racket, just slide down here, like right when you hit it, slide down. You want to change your backhand grip, open the right hand a little bit and turn the racket to your right, and then you regrip the right hand. It's so easy. And again, give players time when they're young, when they're beginners, and make it easy. Let them hit a forehand. What? They catch the racket. Give them enough time so they go over there, right? So then they slide down, open the right hand, turn the racket and regrip, and then let them hit the other shot. Everything goes from slow to medium pace to fast pace. Everything goes from easy to medium hard to super hard, hard finest. So like you go from, this is the deal, this is how it works. So now once we know how to turn the racket, so the left hand adjusts the racket face however you want to. So when I teach my forehand, I split step. So I tell my players to turn here so the strings point to the crowd. This is something of my, this is a good friend of mine. He used to say that always, that the strings point to the crowd, and I love it. You know, there's so many deals and drills where you turn here, the coach has the left hand, his left hand here, and the right hand, he has the ball, so he's tossing it. So you push against his hand, he drops the ball, takes a hand away, and then you hit it, right? So that's one of the things you can do with beginner players and kids, intermediate players. You split turn, the racket is here, they put the hand here, when they're facing you, they put the hand away, and you drop it and hit it. Alright, so we adjusted the racket head, and now some players, it varies. So Roger likes to go here, and then drops the racket here, and then pulls from here and hits it. Some players go a little bit further, like that Potro with his Continental, he's a little bit further back here. But, you know, when you look at Rick Macy's videos, or there's so many coaches, if you like, go online, you can educate yourself so much. So if you look at the greatest coaches, so Rick Macy says tapping the dog's head here, you know, like right here, that's where you want to get down, and then you pull from here, right? And the pull is, again, once you're in this position, the hip snaps and the racket goes into leg position. And now what I like to explain to my players is we do it slow, split turn, you search the ball, wherever it is, you're setting your feet up, you drop the racket head here, and now when you snap in and you pull, the butt cap is going to point forward a little bit to the left, and then you start to go with the grip first, the other stuff catches up, you roll it, and then after you hit the ball, you actually extend as long as you can, and then you go over. The extension is key. So take back can vary, but what I love to explain to my players, if you see me on this line now here, so when you take your racket back, right, you want to pull from there. So a lot of players break the plane here, right? So what I tell my players, just stay, think there's a wall here, you see me where the camera is, so, and you're out here, so you can pull from, you can have a highest backswing here, that's fine with me. But do not go here. And that's where kids struggle and beginner players struggle to get power in the shots. So when they're here, why do people take the racket back here? Because kids and weak players are not strong physically. They think they can create more power. Yeah, you might swing the ball faster, but what does it help me if the ball, the contact will be here and my racket is way back there? So what happens now? You have all the angular momentum, and there's no spin on there and there's no power on there. So you always want to have the best of both worlds, and you get that if you stay to your right side with everything you do, and you hit and strike it there. Very important. And again, to demonstrate, and that's why I love the Topspin Pro, to have something static on the court, to demonstrate all that, just the aha moment of your players, they're just going to be different. You can do all those things, explain and let them feel how it feels to spin and roll that ball. Again, if they go like this, they're not going to get any topspin on that ball again. It's all like a vicious circle when you work on the technique. And yeah, so forehand, that was it. So you turn. So now, when I say to my students to stay here, they will have to drop the racket head at one point, right? Obviously here. And then, as I said, this part here, be loose. If you stiff here again. So this is now we go to intermediate, beginner, adult players, especially men. So we all like walk around like this. We break the racket and squeeze it so much. I always say, my guys come and they go, and hit that ball. That's not going to work. And they hate when I bring them to the service box. Why do they hate that? Because when you, and I know all great coaches, a lot of great coaches, if you cannot play in a service box, you are not able to control the ball from the baseline. The best players can play in the service box and keep the ball 150 times in because you are able to control the ball. You have maximum control of the ball. And this is the best thing you can do if you want to improve your game. My adults hate me, but then after a year they thank me. They invite me to get a beer and they thank me for that. Why? Because they learn to control the ball in the box, in the service box. And why is that important? So how did I come to that? Is, say if you are an adult, beginner, intermediate, and you squeeze the racket so tight, this racket has to work for you. It's your tool, you use it, that thing works for you. So once it's going forward, it works for you. There's no squeezing or anything. And so they asked me, Davor, how do I hold my racket? So if 10 is breaking it, squeezing so much, and 0 is dropping it, you hold it on 2.5. And like, what? I always hold it at 8, 9. Yeah, but that ain't work. That's why you have a tennis elbow. That's why your shoulder is messed up. You need to let that thing work. And everything happens naturally. So if you hold it on 2.5, at contact you might squeeze a little bit more to 3. That's going to make the biggest difference in the world. Yes, the ball's going to sail out because you're too loose. And when you hit that ball and swing, like most of the players, when they're too loose, now the forearm takes over and they just go and whoop that ball. So that's when I start to try to tell them, when they hit it, you have to make sure your whole arm follows. I know it looks a little bit rigid in the beginning, but the whole arm has to go through. So when adults get loose, they just whoop it and hit the ball like this and they go over the fence. They forget that at contact point, they follow through. So when you follow through, think about, and my good friend Brett Custer, my tennis director, is a good man and a good coach. I learned a lot from him. So he always says, when you contact the ball, the palm of the hand goes through. Think about it, that the palm of the hand goes through the ball. So the same thing, when you hit the ball, you hear now, think that this thing is the palm of the hand and your arm goes through. And that's key. So you hit it, you roll it up, and the palm of the hand goes through and you finish over your shoulder. And that's how you can start. Use soft foam balls, the big ones, and let them drop and let the palm of the hand go through. And when you're done with it, you can follow through and hold your arm here and clap it and go through all contact points. Go a little bit lower, clap here. You hit the soft ball, go up there, and a low ball, pocket to pocket, go here. Just feel everything, feel it, because the hand, this is your hand, right? This is your hand this is your tool. You need to use that. So that was one thing, to stay with the ball, and I just wanted to show you guys what a lot of adults do then when I tell them to be looser. And that's why the service box is so important. When you practice that in the service box, you will be amazed. And give it time. Guys, when someone tries to sell you something and says, you do those 2 things, you're going to be the best player in the world, your forehand's going to be fixed. BS, because you need to invest time. You need to practice that. So if people come to me and say, Davor, I want a better forehand, I say, look, before we even start, and they don't have to come to see me, it's not about the money. I tell them, go on the ball machine at least twice a week, please. I'll show you how to do it right. And if you can't commit to twice a week, go once a week and practice. Because if you don't, you will get better, but it's going to go and take years and years and years. You need to make sure that you invest in your game. That does not mean do hundreds of lessons. No. Like if you can't afford it, yes, it's always better and see your coach. But if you can't afford it, you see them half an hour, or you work on one shot. If you have a good coach, they will write you down what you need to do. They will do a video comparison. What I do actually, I'm slammed with those online because apparently people do not dislike me, so I like that. So, pick half an hour with the coach you trust, you think he does a good job. They will write you down, they will compare you in video and use the technology. Go on the wall and record yourself on the ball machine and look if your technique gets better. That's why technology is so important. You have parameters to checkpoints to control if you get better. So if your coach cares, they're not going to tell you if you can't afford it. You need to see me 4 days a week, otherwise you're not getting better. That's not true. You need to make sure that you have a coach that cares and that gives you material to study at home, that then can contact you whenever you want to and send them a message. And you check your game, right? So that's very important. So let's go back to the shot. So we spoke about the contact a little bit. So when you're at contact on the forehand, it's going to be, when you look at your front toes, it's always like a little bit in front of your toes, like this, okay? With the Eastern or weak semi-Western grip, you can maneuver the ball nicely, like Federer can do everything right here, right? Everything he wants, because he has that grip. As someone with the Western grip, the contact will be a little bit closer to you. It will be right here, because you can't extend that arm with that grip. It's important to know, if you're a player or a parent or even some coaches, if you have a Western grip, your contact will be closer to you. It will not be again in front of a front foot, but it will be more here. And now, if you have a Western or strong semi-Western, those hips come in play, because you will need to snap those, and they will need, you have a lot of rotational force. They will need to help you tremendously, all right? So you need to make sure that according to the grip, that will change your contact point as well. And just know, if more to the Western grip you go, as more you will have to use the hip. And really cool drill for the hip snap is, when you know those hula hoops, I don't have one here, but you put it on the ground, you put your hand on there, and then you snap your hip in and roll that hula hoop. And that's another thing. Tennis is easy. We learn from so many sports. If you use a hula hoop, you can teach kids so tremendously good. Like they will learn everything good. Use hula hoops for the hip snap. The kids will appreciate it. You have a kid there and a kid here, and they hula hoop, then roll that ball back and forth with each other. Tennis is not just a tennis racket. Tennis is learning from other sports and being open-minded. That's why I started Tennis Haus. I started on Facebook because coaches that I knew wanted to participate, they wanted to grow something. So there are a lot of coaches that don't like to share. But that's why I started the group in Tennis Haus on Facebook, where we have 14,000 coaches in there, because I wanted to create something. There are a lot of people still think they know everything. We don't. We learn every day from anyone. I learn from people from parts of the world I didn't even know they exist. This is the beauty of online and connecting, you learn so much. So if you have kids, roll it. If you have a boxing punching bag, I know it might sound weird, but go in and hit that with not in the lesson, but at home. Practice to use that hip. Start to feel the hips, It's a big part of the game. Alright, backhands I did already, guys. I will put that online later, so you will see that. I will leave it in there. I will start doing on Sundays, whoever's in here. I'll pick Sundays because most of the times I have time there in the afternoon. I'm going to go through shots. I might repeat things. I might add new things. Send me things you want to hear and listen to. And I think it's important to use the social media in a good way. That's why I started my Tennis Haus. I wanted to help others. And I'm going to try to have, we had Xavier Malise, Mary Pierce, Mark Philippus, Paul Enneco, and Monica Puig. Emilio Sanchez, Alex Korecha, Dusan Laovic, Damir Zumo, all friends of mine. They were all on the Instagram lives. So we have a YouTube channel where I'm going to put the bigger videos in, okay? Tennis Haus. I do the YouTube because it gives me more time to go in depth in the technique of the shots, okay? So if you want to follow my YouTube channel if you don't yet. And yeah, the Topspin Pro, I try to demonstrate why I am with them, why I like to showcase what they have. Because if you watch the whole video, this is not just the thing that stands there. Obviously, there are other ones that are really great. Many great ones. I just fell in love with the design, the color, and the way it works. You can take these off. You can change and turn them for the swing pass. If you do the kick serve, you hold it up, and those can turn a little bit, so you stay on that pathway. You know, on the kick serve, you just put it up and roll it. That's the next thing I'm going to do. We'll talk a little bit more about the serve and the volley. The next session, next Sunday, let's say 5 p.m. Central, it's going to talk a little bit more about the volley, how you can use it. So I really hope you enjoyed it. I had a blast. I set my green room up slowly. I just love doing what I do. I love tennis, guys. And yeah, if you need anything, shoot me a message. I try to answer if I can. And I wish everybody a beautiful Monday. Thank you for joining, guys. Thank you for being here. Si lo Topspin Pro en Argentina, no lo sé. Voy a preguntar a la persona que lo hace. Mándame un mensaje y voy a contestarte. Sí, en español también. Muchas gracias. Ha sido un placer. A mí me encanta hacer esto. Un día, si tengo energía bastante, yo voy a hacer después de un inglés, voy a hacer un Instagram Live en español también. Y un Instagram Live en alemán y un Instagram Live en croata. En chile tampoco, qué pena. Sí, pues para todos los hispanohablantes, muchísimas gracias para estar conmigo hoy. Thank you guys for being with me, for all the German fans, für alle die Deutschen, die mit mir waren hier jetzt im Instagram Live. Danke, dass ihr eingeschaltet habt. The Brasileños, I can't speak Portuguese. Thank you for joining in. Hvala vam puno za svi Hrvati, za ljude iz Srbije, svugdje od Balkana. Hvala vam da ste s nama bili. Merhaba from Turkey. Thank you for all my Turkish guys and my friends love from Turkey. I'm teaching a great guy right now, Murat, in my club. I love it. Hada. Hvala vam iz Srbije isto. Hvala. Sí, mi español. Yo vivía en San Sebastián, Málaga, en Barcelona. Si mi español no sería bastante bien, hubiera sido algo muy mal. Merhaba. Thank you guys. I mean, it's amazing. I think those went well. Yeah. Leave me a comment, guys, before you leave if you liked it or not, because other people will see it. If it helps, write it. If you think it sucked, wasn't good, sorry for my language, just put it down too if you didn't like it. I always open for criticism, always open. If not, you're not growing, your mind's not growing. So, again, thank you for a wonderful session. Mille grazie, and you guys are awesome. Have a great day.